Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. Lithium is in an unusual place right now. A couple of years ago, it was the mineral of choice because of the role it plays in the green energy transition, including electric vehicles. Prices were soaring. Then a flood of new supply and a slump in EV sales saw lithium prices tumble. But as a long-term prospect, lithium is still going to play that vital role in the energy shift. Rio Tinto has recognised that this week with its $9.9 billion bid for Arcadium Lithium. So how should Australian investors look at the global lithium market? Remember, this is general information only and you should seek professional advice before making investment decisions. Vulcan Energy is a lithium and renewable energy company dual listed here on the ASX and in Germany. Francis Wedin is the founder and executive chair of Vulcan Energy. Francis, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Thanks for having me on, Sean.
Francis, explain lithium to me. I kind of get it, but wow, what a volatile commodity it's been. Just the thumbnail sketch of why prices have done what they've done. And then I want to get onto the, what Rio's doing, the industry generally, before we get onto Vulcan. So why have prices done what they've done?
Sure. Well, lithium is a very small market that is growing very, very quickly. So it's growing roughly at the same rate as the global rate of electric vehicle EV growth, which, if you look at it on a global sort of average basis, is about 20% compound annual growth rate. And that growth rate is tipped really on average to continue for quite a few years to come. So it's a really large compound growth rate. And essentially what it means is every time because it's such a small market that's growing very quickly, every time there's new supply or demand entering the market, you get these wild supply-demand imbalances. And that has caused the price to go from 8,000 a tonne up to 80,000 and sort of back down to 9 or 10,000 a tonne within the space of 3 or 4 years. So our perspective is really to go for long-term sort of agreements with stability on pricing, because it's going to be a wild ride for years to come.
Okay, the long-term part is really important because unlike other commodities, nickel being an example, lithium, even though the price has come off enormously, no one doubts that it is a long-term play in terms of the transition of the economy.
That's right. I mean, it's the irreplaceable component of electric vehicle batteries. You can have some short-range vehicles with sodium-ion batteries, but ultimately they are limited by physics. So ultimately, lithium is the irreplaceable component of batteries going into EVs. The transition to EVs is structural. It's not going away. It'll progress in fits and starts depending on the country, but it's a mega trend. And so lithium has to grow in the coming years by a very large amount. And, these are large, complex projects to build. So there will continue to be these wild supply-demand imbalances every time you build new supply and every time there's new demands coming in.
Okay, so let's jump to Vulcan Energy then, because this is where you play and you are dual listed. You are building the capacity in Germany to access lithium. Just tell us about Vulcan and where you're up to and how far you are away from actually processing lithium.
Sure. So Vulcan Energy is building a lithium brine project. As you mentioned, it's in southwest Germany, so we're in the heart of the European market. We are extracting lithium from brines using a process called adsorption-type direct lithium extraction. And this is a process that makes up about 10% of global production today. It is a very low-cost process, and it also has really good sustainability credentials as well. So low carbon footprint, and if you do things right, low water footprint as well. What's unique about Vulcan is that our brine comes out of the ground naturally heated. And that means that we can actually produce renewable energy, i.e. geothermal renewable energy from that brine. And we're doing so at the moment, actually. We'll be doing so on a larger scale quite soon as well, once we build what we call our phase 1 commercial plant. So we're integrated renewable energy, lithium extraction and lithium refining to produce a battery-grade lithium hydroxide. And we produce more renewable energy than we consume in the process. So we're net energy positive, effectively. And that gives us a carbon neutral footprint, which is unique.
So it's the geothermal part is why you're positive?
That's right, yep. So we're producing renewable energy, baseload renewable heat and power from the heated brine in the subsurface. And we think that this method of lithium extraction, adsorption type direct lithium extraction, it's going to play a very major role in the next wave of lithium. I'd call it sort of the third wave. And that's, I think, is being validated by oil and gas companies coming into the space, Equinor, Exxon, investing in these types of projects in various parts of the world. And yesterday also by Rio, who's just bought their second adsorption type DLE project by acquiring Arcadium. So remember, they already had Rincon next door. So one of the biggest hard rock miners in the world is going into adsorption type direct lithium extraction as well. Just one final point. A unique part about Vulcan is that we use waste heat to drive our adsorption process. The adsorption is mainly driven by heat, and that means that we really lower the cost of production. So it's a low-cost method of production to begin with, and we make it extra low cost because of leveraging that waste heat in the process.
Stay with me, Francis. We'll be back in a minute. I'm speaking to Francis Wedin, founder and executive chair of Vulcan Energy. Okay, and in Vulcan, you have some very high-profile shareholders, including Gina Reinhardt in more recent times. What I don't know enough about the production process, but so the competitive advantage is the geothermal heat. What about the actual product that you're ending up with? Is there must be grades of lithium, presumably, and kind of where do you sit on that?
Yeah, so we'll be producing battery-grade lithium chemicals, battery-grade lithium hydroxide. So we supply it direct to essentially the cathode industry to make batteries for electric vehicles. And our main customers, so we've basically sold almost 100% of the first 10 years of production from our phase one commercial facility to tier one automakers like Stellantis, Renault, and that gives us a lot of stability on pricing. So we took the view a few years ago that these wild oscillations would continue. So we wanted to fix a long-term fair price for both parties. We've got some fixed pricing, some floor ceiling. So I'd say we got two competitive advantages. One is very low cost of production, inherent in the nature of our process. The other is the stability on pricing that we have with offtake. And we're also close to customers as well. So we've got a lower cost of transportation.
Yeah. Okay. The industry generally, so Rio's bid for Arcadium Lithium, which it was made in the last couple of days. Do you expect to see more M&A activity in lithium? And I mean, I'm interested in your take on. I mean, I don't necessarily want to ask you about the Rio bid, but just the fact that lithium prices are so low at the moment. Surely that's got to be tempting for some of these really big players with deep pockets.
I think so. I think the industry is ripe for more, M&A and consolidation. As you mentioned, some companies are looking very cheap right now. So I think one commentator said in an article yesterday, strap in, it's going to be a wild ride. I agree with that sentiment. I think there's going to be a lot of activity in the lithium space in the months and perhaps the year to come. There's a few mega trends playing out. I think cost of production is key for this next phase. I think in the last phase it was speed to market. I think this next phase of lithium is defined by building out that long-term, sustainable, low-cost supply. But you're also seeing geographical diversification playing a role. And I think that Rio takeover was part of that as well, going to different jurisdictions because, and this is not just lithium, but a number of different supply chains. We're seeing this mega trend of onshoring or friendshoring of supply chains. So supply chains are deglobalizing. And we've taken that view as well in Europe, producing lithium from Europe for Europe, essentially.
Is there a risk that someone like China funds enormous mines in other parts of Asia and kind of floods the market? Is that a risk for lithium producers like yourself?
Well, it's already happened. I mean, they've been investing in the lithium space for many years, and they control most of it, to be honest. So I'd say that's already happened to a degree. And recent, increased production from Africa has also caused some of the recent price weakness. But I think there's a strong push from automakers to, as I said, localize supply and to secure their own supply chains from, if you like, Western producers. So I think you're somewhat insulated from that to a degree if you're producing in Australia, in Europe, in North or South America, because ultimately Western automakers want to build their own supply chains of critical raw materials. And that's backed up by legislation in places like the EU as well.
Yeah, okay. Are there many lithium producers like yourself in the EU? I'm just showing my ignorance here. I've never thought of it as a European commodity, but is it?
No, there's no fully integrated producers. There's some chemical converters who import raw materials from overseas, but we're I think, going to be the first ones who produce the raw material salts, the lithium salts locally, and then convert that to a battery grade product as well.
Very exciting. Francis, thank you very much for talking to Fear and Greed.
Thanks so much for having me on, Sean.
That was Francis Wedin, founder and executive chair of Vulcan Energy. This is the Fear and Greed business interview. Remember, this is general information only, and you should seek professional advice before making investment decisions. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed, business news for people who make their own decisions. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.